Hi guys, this is Miss Crafty again. Stephanie here with another video for you. Today I'm going to be making this little girl right here. Her name is Petunia, and she is from Petunia Loves Easter Digi stamp set from DigiWeb Studio. There are about 8, I believe, images in this set, and I'm going to go with this one right here with Petunia and her little flower and her little ducky. Digital stamps are really nice and easy to use, and they're portable, so if you're going on a crop or if you're going away somewhere, you can take them with you on a flash drive and just print them out and color them whatever size you want to. So there's no need to hassle with are they big enough, are they small enough, how do I want to place them, and then we have them over here. For this first part, I'm going to start coloring, and I was going to turn some music on, but I guess I'll just talk you through the coloring and how I did it this time. So let's get started. So for my skin tone, I've used FS9, FS7, and FS1. And again, I started with my dark color and I went all around the edge, and I have my light source coming sort of from the top almost all the way to the left of Petunia here. And I just scribbled some down, and then I took my FS7 and pushed that color out so that I have a nice medium color in there. Now I know these colors don't look like they mix, but when they dry, they kind of pull out the lightness in there, and it's just easier to see. You can always go back with your dark color and your medium color if you want a more of a subtle tone. For her arms, I put the FS9 on the left and right side of her hands. And then again, using my FS7, I used an FS1. I did both sides to put in that shape. I also did the same thing on her legs. Great thing about Digi stamps is that I like how versatile and how big I can make them. So I can go ahead and make a big 12 by 12 Digi stamp and stick it onto a piece of cardstock and frame it for a friend, as it makes a great present. For her headband over here, I used DR7 for the actual band and DR6, DR5, and DR1 for the flower. Moving on to her hair, I'm going to use 4 colors this time: TN9, TN6, TN4, and TN3. When you're coloring hair, the best thing to do is your dark color is where your hair is, where the hair is being pulled, or underneath the hair as a layer of shadow. So in this case, all the lines that are in there, I'm going to go and scribble in with my dark. Using TN6, I've barely put a very small layer just to squish some of that color out, and so that the dark is not totally overwhelming her hair, and then all the other parts where I believe they are. TN4, I'm coming in, again, scribbling just a little bit since I'm using 4 colors. I didn't want too much of the TN4, but just enough to give some highlights. And then I colored everything in with TN3. Now I could have gone and used TN4, or I'm sorry, TN2, but I felt like TN3 was light enough. And you can see where the highlights are being shown in the hair as I'm scribbling in there. And I think it looks pretty good for hair. Now, I'm no expert in coloring hair, but there are some people who are. For her dress, I'm using BGR1, BGR2, and BGR3. And this is sort of a blue-gray tone. And I like this color because it's sort of a muted color, and it's not the traditional Easter color for this one. But I did think that it matched the pattern papers that I was using for today. Remember that remember your darkest or where your folds are, and then follow in with your medium and your light, and you can see the very nice shadow that's being reflected over there. For her collar, I used BG3 and BGR1. For her socks, now, because they are white, I came in with my lightest gray, which is an IG1. And then I took my blender tool and I sort of just squished that gray in there. Now, when it dries, you're not going to see it, but you can see hints of little gray in there. The blender tool is also used to pick up any color. It's like an eraser that you made of mistakes. For her shoes, I used IG10, IG8, and IG5. I didn't want to truly use black, so I came in with my darkest grays. So IG10 first, IG8, and then finished off with IG5. And you can see the highlights that are coming in on there. And then for the bottom, I used IG8. And I scribbled some of that down in there just to give it a little bit of... The only thing left are the leaves on her headband and the duck and the flower. For her leaves, I used DG3, CG2, and DG1. And again, I just squished in some very little of each and then finished off with DG1. For the flower, I used HB1, HB2, and HB3 for the leaves, and TN6 and TN4 for the inside. I did TN6 and then TN4 to give a nice little round highlight, and then I used HB3 for the middle, and then I squished in some HB2 and finished it off with HB1, which happens to be the lightest of them, but it does a really nice job blending everything together. For the stem of the flower, I just went in with DG3, no blending on there. Now the only thing left to color right now is the duck. And for her cheeks, I used FS8. Now I came in with FS2 when I really meant to do FS1, but don't worry, it'll sharpen itself out because I can just blend that right back in and again, come in with FS8 and redo the cheeks. And I know it doesn't look very pretty right now, but again, it will shame itself out. For the duck, I use CT4, CT2, and CT1, which is citrus yellow. And again, I covered all of her body and the wing as well to give that nice yellow highlight. And I don't usually work in yellows. I'm not a big fan. Now, as you can see for the face, I kind of had that her dress color stuck in there, so I used my blender to pick up that tool, and then I came in with my FS9 and kind of like scribbled over it so that it's not very looking. So I know it looks really dark on there, but that's because the paper is wet and it will be saturated. But when it dries, it looks really awesome the way it is, and you can't even see that a mistake was being made. For the duck, I used TN6 for the beak and for the feet. I took my scissors and I cut out around there to leave somewhat of a white border around there. I'm not the best cutter, and I know you can't see me cutting here, and I tried really hard to keep it in the camera, and I'm still working on this, so I'm sorry for that. I tried to keep a white border around the edge of it, and I used my scissors, and the places that I couldn't get from my scissors, I used my craft knife, my X-Acto knife, to cut out those edges in there. And I personally don't like a white border sometimes. I really do. I was having issues cutting this out, so I just ended up cutting it myself. And again, it looks nicer on the card than it does in person, so don't worry if it's not perfect because you're not going to see it. So taking my craft knife, I'm just taking those little itty pieces out of it, and she turned out really cute the first and second time I did this card, and I can't wait to do these. Almost done here, and this little piece, I did not do a craft knife for that other piece right next to her arm because I didn't want to have too many spots in there. The card base that I'm using is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which is a standard A2 card. My pattern paper is from the Together paper pad set from Stamps of Life in the February card kit, and it is cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and I'm using that as my card mat today. The paper in this set is double-sided, so I just flipped it over to give that circle color in there, and that is cut at a 1-inch strip. And my AT donor was giving me issues, so I was just playing with it. So as you can see, I'm putting it right there, and I'm going to put my little girl right on there. And I ran out of foam tape, so I'm going to use these foam squares from the Craft Collections by Tomboy, and they come in 414 small and 50 large. And all I did was I take a whole strip of them and I just place them all on them like that, just to give the card a little bit of a dimension and to make it pop a little bit more. And as you can see, her pattern, the pattern paper and her dress are matching in color, and that's what I kind of liked about this. And with this color, now they're not your traditional Easter colors, but they are somewhat of a muted, rainy kind of color, which looks cute anyway. So I'm taking off the backing of these foam tapes, and after I've taken off the backing, I am going to press it down onto my paper. You can buy these foam squares at Joann's, which is where I got them. Your 50 large ones are a 1/2 inch by a 1/2 inch. So I'm pressing her down onto my paper as I want it, and you can see that there's some dimension in there, so I'm just going to push it down in there. For the sentiment, I am using Happy Easter, which I did in Adobe Illustrator. I used my scoreboard to mark the place where I want it to cut, and it was easier for me to do it this way than for me to have to guesstimate or even eyeball it. So I took my paper trimmer, which is by Cricut, and I lined up the scoreboards with the cut lines, and all I did was trim. And then an easy way is just to fold the ends, and then when I cut through, I get this nice, beautiful cut over there. The font for Happy Easter is Lilybell, and all I did here was I just trimmed out some of the edges so I got a nice sharp one. Again, the strip is 3/4 of an inch by an inch, and I just made some little banner cuts onto the side, and I used my foam tape to place it on there. I popped this up with some foam squares to give it even more some dimension because I didn't like it flat, and it kind of sets off the rest of the card as well. So taking off the back very quickly and putting it slightly to the side and pressing it down, we have today's Easter card. Thank you for watching today. I hope that you would give this video a like and a thumbs up, and I appreciate your subscription. Thanks for watching. Bye.